What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 20 of the Roots of Success podcast. I am your host, Nate the Great Peterman, and today I have a very special guest. I've known him, I'd say, probably for the past 3 to 4 years. Somebody whose message really resonates with me as well as the people. He's inspiring so many people, not just throughout the United States, but overseas, and his mentality is absolutely unreal, to say the least. My man, Kenny Graham. What's good, brother?
It was good, man. Hey, listen, just to have the opportunity to be able to share here, man, I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. I know, like I said, we have been, what I'm saying? Like I said, we just been talking here and there, and then we just really built a relationship. And so when you reached out to me, man, I had no choice. I had to move everything else aside. Like, hey, Nate, it's time for this interview with Nate. So, yeah, man, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I don't know if the audience knows what they're in store for, man. For real,
Yeah. Hey, absolutely.
But yeah, man. So for those of you who might be wondering, who is Kenny Graham? Tell me, a little bit more about him. So Kenneth Graham, he's actually a best-selling author, inspirational speaker, educator, community advocate, and established entrepreneur. Kenny Graham, as he is better known, continues to be exceptional within his line of work, inspiring and impacting others through his creative style and empowering messages. His words continue to impact thousands of people in various countries throughout the planet. Through social media and his unique teaching style, Kenny Graham is making a mark that no one will be able to erase. Man, it's quite the intro, brother.
I don't know who wrote that bio, man, but whoever wrote it, whoever did.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, we can keep going too.
Yep. So, but yeah, hey, I appreciate you again, man.
Absolutely, man, for sure. So, tell the audience, tell the listeners, a little bit more in depth about, where Kenneth Graham comes from, like, his lifestyle growing up, and really, man, I mean, being a global inspiration,
Yeah. I would just say I was like any normal kid from the inner city. Grew up Cincinnati, Ohio. When I grew up Cincinnati, Ohio, actually born in Georgia. After I was about 3 months, my mom moved to Cincinnati, raised there ever since. The typical story, like most kids, without a father, growing up on food stamps, growing up on government assistance, and just so many things that have happened within the course of my childhood until now. And for those of you who don't know out there, I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. And when you look at kids who have autism, there's oftentimes a negative stigma on kids who have autism. And for me, I just took that diagnosis and I made something out of it instead of making excuses, and saying, putting pity on myself. I took it and I made something out of it. And so, Kenny Graham is one of those individuals who really came from the bottom. For real. My mom worked 40 hours. Sometimes she worked 2-3 jobs to make sure that we made ends meet. Mom raised 5 children by herself, y'all. 5 children by herself, 4 boys. So just imagine how challenging that was. No fathers there. And I know my dad would, he would send child support and stuff like that, but there was no presence. But I didn't use that as an excuse. Everything I went through, I took it and I made it into a positive. You know what I'm saying? I took my circumstance and I created income out of it. You feel me? I created speeches out of it. I created all these opportunities out of my circumstances, and I think that's where, a lot of people go wrong, is that they take their circumstances and they become victimized by it. Like, no, your circumstance, the reason why you're going through that circumstance is because somebody else is going through it similar to you. And the reason why you're going through it, you're going through it so that you can help that other person. And so that's what drives me every single day. And so when people tell me no, that fuels me. I remember E.T. put up a video on TGIM where he was talking about no turning you on. Like, no turns me on. And when at one point no was like, it was one of those things where I would get upset about, right. I would, be depressed about, but no turn me on. Circumstances turn me on. Challenges turn me on. So everything I went through in my past they turned me into this right here.
Man, that's incredible. And I just think, of course, with your father, for example, with him not really, being there for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of especially males that grow up without having their father present. And I know
Right.
that's a big challenge. And a lot of people, they let that get to them, and they sort of they go to drugs. They go to, getting into fights and everything like that. So, man, what do you think it was that made you not want to do that? Or maybe you did do it for a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what do you think that thing was that just said, all right, Kenny, like, man, you ain't doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, well, it was two things. Number one, of course, the way my mom brought us up, and my aunts, my grandmother. So I was raised by women. And so how they were raised us was being in the church. So every Sunday we had to be at church. There was always that thing of you're not only being in church, but you're going to be a part of church. So we were part of dance groups, choir. So my mom made sure that all of us as boys and as my little sister even, that we were heavily involved in things that are positive. And for me, man, I just saw where, secondly, I saw that where it was taking people who got involved into it. It was tearing up their lives. And I was just like, no, I'm made for something better than this. I'm made for something greater than that, and not negating or minimizing those people. But I'm not made for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the inside. I know that I'm made for something greater, and that's not it. And so those were the two reasons, man, my upbringing. And I just looked at it. I said, I don't want to be there, because I saw where I saw what was manifesting, people smoking and drinking. And just to be honest, it didn't automatically stick with me. When I got to college, I did smoke weed, I did drink, I did all of it, but it was the smoking that was the thing that I did. But it was a conviction for me around 2013. I just stopped. I stopped doing it because, and it was funny, Nate. People will come up to me who smoke with me. They'd be like, Kenny, you shouldn't be smoking. And I'll say about 3 or 4 people came up to me, said the exact same thing. And I'm like, shut up. Like, you ain't my dad. You know what I'm saying? I'm you know what I mean? Like, I'm smoking this, I'm doing my thing. We both grown. Don't talk to me like that. Yeah. And I'm just going to be real. And I don't want to sound super spiritual, but I feel like that was God bringing them to me, saying, hey, this is not your life. This is not where I'm calling you to be. I didn't call you to smoke. You know what I'm saying? So you're called to stand out. And I finally listened, and I stopped doing it. So I wasn't always squeaky clean. I'm not like the Dr. Martin Luther King, squeaky clean. You know what I mean? I had my dirt, but I use my dirt. You know what I'm saying? And it's impacting people. So yeah.
Now I like that saying, you used your dirt, and that's impacted people. That's very deep. I know you do a lot of work, of course, with speaking. You do a lot with like the juvenile, like detention center students and things like that.
Yeah.
Man, tell me and tell the audience more about that. Like, how is it? Because I mean, being a speaker and just speaking to a regular audience, that can be tough, right? But when you speak into people that have been through it, I mean, have probably seen people like shot and killed, and I mean the whole 9 yards. Like, what's the difference from speaking to a regular audience compared to kids that come from a very, very rough upbringing?
Yeah, for sure. So the difference between me speaking and me doing this work is that with speaking, I'm not doing that as much as I'm doing here at the detention center. Yeah. And another difference is when you're dealing with those kids, you're also a part of their lives. So you're not just working with them, but you're actually involved in part of their lives. So if they've gone through certain issues, it's one of those things where if you want to really connect with those kids, you have to embrace it. And of course, I won't say names, but I have a kid right now who's suicidal. You know what I'm saying? And many kids who go through the juvenile justice system are suicidal. So for me, I really had to get to a point to where I say, if I'm gonna really do this work effectively, then I can't just be a probation officer. I have to be a mentor. I have to be a teacher. I have to be, a big brother, a father figure for most of these kids. And I don't even have kids, but for some of the kids on my caseload, I feel like I am a father figure and a big brother in many ways. And so it's much more deeper than what people think it is. It's not just checking to see if they're doing a community service, not just checking to see if they're paying fees or if there's by my curfew. It's totally different. You know what I'm saying? If you want to make that impact for anybody out there, because I've had people ask me, how is it working as a probation officer? I said it's the same exact thing as I've been doing. Like when I've been speaking to the youth and volunteering and stuff like that, it's just a different level of impact. And so it's been a phenomenal and humbling experience. Just some of these stories, man. Like I said, I won't, go too much into it, but there were many points that my wife can tell you, like I cried in the middle of the night, at some nights, because it was being overwhelmed by their experiences and knowing that, hey, I really have to deal with this kid. And what do I do? Because I've been in instances where I've said it to myself before. What do I do? How do I deal with this kid? This person has been through something I've never been through. So how do I deal with this? And of course, what helped me is having a strong support system at the department. But for me, man, I'm passionate about youth anyway. So no matter what they go through, I'm gonna speak life to them. I'm gonna help them any type of way of fashion. But this was totally different. I gotta say, this is my most challenging job that I've ever had in my life, because every kid is not the same. You feel me? Every person that I deal with is not the same. And so this kid may be upset one day, but then he wake up again happy. You know what I mean? Then another kid may be, excited one day and he wake up depressed. So when I'm dealing with those kids, I have to meet them where they are. And so that's a challenge. But it's like I said, it's a grateful experience, because I know that I get to touch lives, like literally. And for some kids, I've been able to measure the success, you know what I'm saying, and them being put on my caseload and them being rehabilitated, you know what I'm saying. But that's far in between. But for those times that I do have the chance to impact them, I do. So yeah, man, it's overwhelming, but it is a phenomenal experience. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And that I got a lot of respect for you there, Kenny, for real, because not everybody is bred to do that. It takes a certain breed to really, feed back to our babies and the youth and empower them. And
yeah,
with you doing that, I mean, that's just incredible, because again, I mean, people just, I don't know, they sort of shy away from that in a way, because they just feel, yeah, I'm not trying to do that. I might get shot, like they think about like that. But I just think with you sort of, you don't look at it as a risk. You look at it as like, all right, I'm going to help these guys, because if my story can impact them, and if I can leave some type of an impact and a legacy in their life, that's what I want to do. So that sort of makes me come to the question, how big is a father figure? And I know it wasn't quite there for you, but personally, how big do you think a father figure is in a son or a daughter's life growing up?
Oh yeah, it's everything, because what I've noticed is, especially dealing with kids in the juvenile justice system, is that they will mimic everything that their parents do.
Wow.
Flat out. You know what I'm saying? And so if that parent is not leading by example, and guess what? That child is going to repeat. And there's a kid that I work with now where his dad committed suicide when he was 17 months old. But prior to that, his father was very abusive, verbally, physically, and used a lot of substances. And so guess what? He's doing the same thing because of what he saw. And he was 17 months old. He may not understand it, but he saw it. You know what I mean? And I realize people don't, especially kids, they don't do they don't do the things that you say. They do what you do. So in other words, whatever it is that they see, they're going to mimic that. They don't care nothing about what you say. I know for personal experience, they will do exactly what it is that you do. So if you want to see a change for all the fathers out there who are listening to this, if you want to see a change in your children, you have to change first. That's where it starts. You know what I mean? So if you're going to see a change in your household, you're going to see a change in your family, you are where it starts. And that's where much of our societal issues, these statistics in terms of kids getting shot and killed, gangs, you know what I'm saying, girls who are prostituting. Like, most of the time that comes from a lack of a father presence, you know what I'm saying? And not just presence like there, but presence, because a father can be there but not be present. A father can be present there physically but not really investing into his children. And so, yeah, man, it's very important. And I know because a lot of the kids that I deal with don't have fathers. I would say 95% of the kids I deal with don't have fathers. And I see the result of them not having fathers. And if they do have fathers, their fathers are not leaving positive examples.
Wow. That's insane. That's 95%.
Yeah.
Holy, my goodness. So what would you, let's say I'm a father that's listening to this right now.
Yeah.
What are some maybe actionable steps that I could personally take? You know, I got a son, I got a daughter. You know, what are some actionable steps that they could maybe take to actually build more of a connection with them? You know what I mean?
Yep. I would say first sit down, have a conversation, a real conversation with your son or your daughter. And I would say, as y'all having a conversation, do more listening than speaking. That's a problem that we have. You know what I'm saying? People want to just talk, but they don't want to listen. Most times people listen with the intent to respond and not the intent to understand. And so if you're a father out there, what I need for you to do is, for real, sit down and have a conversation with your children. But most of the time during that conversation, just listen. But listen to understand, because there are some things that child is going to say that you may not even know. That child is going to reveal everything about you and your role as a father in their life. Like, they're going to reveal that as you listen to them. And so those are just some practical things I would say. And another thing I would say, man, it's a hard subject just be talking about it, because like I said, I deal with this stuff every single day. Don't be so quick to judge. You know what I mean? Like, for real, don't be so quick to judge, because like I said, everyone has their own life. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes kids have to go through certain things just so they can see that it's not the right way to go. And so if you come at with them understanding heart and saying that, hey, I don't care what you went through, I just want to understand where you are, and I just want to hear you out. They're going to pour themselves out to you and share all the juices. But if you coming at them like, come on, I don't care, I'm gonna whoop you right now. Like, I don't care what you say, I'm your father. Like, I've seen fathers come into the facility and do that to their kids, and I'm like, no, man, like, nah. And to be honest, and this is not to put anybody out there, but there's some probation officers or searchers who do that. Wow. There's some probation officers who do the same thing, and I'm just like, that's not how you do it. And you wonder why kids are acting up, and they're like, I don't want to listen to probation officer, because you're not coming with understanding. And so for all my fathers out there, I would say, sit down with your child, and I know it's going to be hard, and I would say, listen more than you speak. And I say, don't judge. Just do not judge. Listen with the intent to understand and not the intent to reply.
Man, that's deep. And I totally agree. Like, that's one of the biggest things, just people in general, is just being able to listen, you know, just being able to hear them out, getting them, you know, asking the right questions. Because people, they don't ask enough questions. People think, oh, man, that question's going to be stupid, or that question's too dumb for me to ask. But it's like, nah, bro, that question's a dumb question. You know, like, if you really want to build a relationship with somebody, just ask questions, you know, be real with them, sit down with them, like you were saying, spend that time. And, I mean, we're all human beings. You act like there's somebody else from a different planet that you're not supposed to be associated with. But
you know what, Nate, though? That's the thing, because I think a lot of people want to be gurus. A lot of people want to be the expert. Like, get off of that. As long as you're living on this earth, you're going to learn something. You're never going to know everything. When you go to, I guarantee you, if people go to the library every single day, they have not read every single book in their library. I guarantee you. But the problem a lot of times is people want to think they know it all, and they don't want to actually learn. I know this is a problem, especially for men, is we don't like the help. We don't like to ask for help. And so anytime I go to a kid, I'm dealing with anybody. It's not even just I work with the juvenile kids, but even when I'm speaking, like I do intimate sessions, you know what I'm saying, with my one-on-ones that I do, you know, even when I'm just having a conversation, my whole process is, you know, thought process is, hey, I'm going to listen to you. That's my thought process, because I don't want to go at this person like, hey, you know, this is what you need to do with your life. No, maybe that's not what they need to do. But if I'm listening, then I know how to better respond. You feel what I'm saying? So that's a good point that you share, man, because I'm tired of it, quite frankly. And I know E.T. talked about it a lot too. People want to act like they know it all. They want to be experts. You're not going to be an expert. Every guru was once a student.
Oh,
E.T. where he was once a student before he got to where he is. And so
yeah.
that's why I listen to people like you. That's why I listen to E.T. because I'm being a student. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I try to instill in the people, is that you have to be a student first before you can actually master it.
Straight up, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, you know, with man, because it is typical, you know, men sort of tend to be more closed off. Being they're hard to get to, they're a little bit stubborn. Do you think that's, maybe it's both, probably is, but do you think it's more of an ego problem, as well as it is an environment problem? You know what I mean?
I think they both contribute.
Okay.
But I do think it is within the nature of a man to want to be in charge.
Yeah.
I think it's within a man's nature to want to, you know, build and to want to take control, to want to protect, to want to provide. Like, I get that. I understand it. But men break too. Men cry too. You feel me? And I know I was, I grew up with, you know, my, well, he's like a friend of the family, but my Uncle Tony, and he would get on us every time we cry as kids, like, y'all better not be crying. Like, stop crying, stop crying. And we used to like hold that stuff in, like, so every time we heard it, something, we'd be like, nope, not gonna cry, not gonna cry. But it's like, that's natural. That's a natural thing, is to cry. And so I think, you know, we got to get more out of this, not get more out of this vibrato thing where it's like, I'm a man, but it's like, be vulnerable at the same time. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I feel you.
It's crazy, you know. I think another contributing factor is society has really contributed in our definition of manhood too. And so, you know, everybody has their own definition of manhood. But what I've known a lot through most of my life is that a man has to be protective. He has to provide. He has to, you know, be strong, and not strong like, you know, you go through things and you overcome, but strong like, I'm not gonna show you that I'm a cry. I'm not gonna show you that I'm hurt. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I grew up with until I had to change my mindset. And so for me, manhood is totally different. It totally different. You know what I'm saying? I'm not big. I don't have like huge muscles, but I'm a man at the same time. You know what I mean? So I think there has to be a switch in terms of how we define manhood, because, you know, whatever, however you see something is how you're going to approach it. And so if you see manhood as, I just got to be big, vibrato, and I just provide, then that's what you're going to go off of. But if you don't see a manhood as like, hey, I serve. Manhood for me is like, I get up and I serve my wife. That's manhood for me.
Absolutely.
Manhood for me, taking time washing dishes. You know what I'm saying? And doing those things, doing things so that she won't have to worry about, like, that's manhood for me. Responsibility. You know what I'm saying? I think, you know, responsibility over you, and then responsibility over everything that's up under your care. So I can go into it more and more, but I think, yeah, to answer your question, I think there is some ego in there. I know I've had to deal with that a few times. And I think there are also environmental issues, but I think also society has a role to play with that too.
Absolutely. And I feel like a lot of people, they have that twisted, especially like, you know, a female's perception of a man is the big guy. You know, he's got the 6-pack abs, right? He does like a hardworking job, or in today's society, you know, he's an entrepreneur, right? That's killing it with his phone or whatever. And I feel like just people's perception of it is just so twisted. And then people wonder why the divorce rate is so high. People wonder why relationships are just getting cut like left and right, you know? And I
Yeah.
look at that and I'm just like, it's because people don't know really, like, yes, you're a man. You might look like a man physically, but mentally and emotionally, like you were
Yep.
saying, are you a man? And I feel like that's definitely a big, big issue in today's society. And even myself, if you ask, some person, some big buff man, what was the last book you read? Oh man, I think it was back in high school, man. I can't even remember, It's
Right.
like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
telling you. So it's like looking at that, seeing mentally, a great book, as I'm sure you've read it as well, Kenny, The Five Love Languages.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I've learned so much in that book. And I'm not even in a relationship. You feel me?
But
And
that's
it's like,
but that's the thing. You don't have to be though. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's just about knowing who you are and what's your love language. You know what I'm saying? So that when that time comes, like you so far ahead of the game. Because even with me and my wife, we were engaged. When we first started engaged, we didn't even know what our love language was until you got hooked. And the game has changed because we took it. So yeah, go ahead. I didn't interrupt you, man, but that was a good point. So yeah.
no, you good, man. I love it. No, that's definitely raw, and I like how we're rolling with things, man. And it's just something that I feel like society definitely needs to get adjusted. And of course, they don't teach it in school, right? That's not a subject on how to become more developed as a human being.
Right.
And I just think that's definitely something that, especially for relationships. I mean, again, if you're in a relationship now, or if you're married, I mean, definitely check out The Five Love Languages. A very,
Yep.
very great book. Even if you're single, like Kenny was saying, it's very incredible. So, man, let's talk a little bit about character,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Um, a lot of people, they want to be successful in their career, in their job, in their business, or maybe just with their health. A lot of people want to be self-disciplined, right? But the character just doesn't align.
Yeah.
How important does having that right character serve to actually making somebody, I'm not saying like successful instantly, but I'm saying
Right.
like actually go about the steps, go about the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. So anytime I talk about this subject, man, it's something that's near and dear to my heart because this is a process that I've had to go through myself. Um, and so for me, character is everything. It really is. It really is. It's everything because for me, it's your life. It really is. And the way that you operate in other arenas of your life is all determined by your character. And I think oftentimes, people who don't have solid character, they tend to use their gifts and their talents and stuff like that to override it. When we know by numerous examples of people who had talents, and I'll just name a few: Tiger Woods, Kobe Bryant, Bill Cosby. I mean, you got so many individuals out there who have these talents and not much in terms of character. And so what tends to happen is you trying to put your talents over your character, but at some point, like, your character is going to be revealed anyway. And so somebody told me a long time ago that your talent will take you places that your character may not necessarily keep you. And so if you want to sustain success, not only just maintain or obtain it, because anybody can get it, but it's one thing to get it, but it's another whole nother thing to keep it. And so if you're going to keep it, you have to have that solid character. And so character is everything. It is everything. You know what I'm saying? So anytime there's a conversation on character, I like to go into it because it's pretty much, it's the root of your life. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
like I said, everything else that's going on in your life, it'll be affected by that. And so if you want to get your health right, if you want to get your marriage right, if you want to get your relationship right, it's all determined by your character. So it's important. It's over 100%. It's 120, like ET said. Like, you got to be 120 in your character. You're going to be 120 in everything else in your life. So, yeah.
Man, what was that saying you said again, about the talents and the character?
Oh, your talent will take you places that your character may not keep you.
Man, that is deep. Whenever I hear that, I look at, some of the athletes that
Yeah.
are, very talented, right? Um, and some of them, they're just not there mentally, they're just not, they
Right.
don't have that mastered. And the one guy in particular, and I forget his name, his last name was Hernandez. He played on the New England Patriots. He was a tight end. And, something happened. I forget the whole story, but long story short, he went to prison to do some time. And
Yep.
unfortunately, the next day, whenever it was time to wake up, he hung himself in the cell
Yep.
with, I think, a shirt or something, or it might have been a towel. And it's
Wow.
it's insane because I look at somebody who played for the New England Patriots
Yeah.
alongside the GOATs, Tom Brady. I mean, he was a tight end.
Yeah.
And I look at how you can be so, like, to people, that's very successful. They're playing in the NFL, they're making
Yep.
money, right? They're over there, getting whatever they want. And it's
Yep.
like, that's success to some people. But when they find out, oh, wow, this guy, he committed suicide.
Yeah.
He hung himself. What?
Yeah.
So when you said that saying, that really hit home because not a lot of people have that. And I wouldn't say it's something that you can master because they're always growing at it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But a lot of people, I feel they think success is all sunshine and rainbows, but really the more successful you get, and I'm sure you can attest to this, the harder it can get mentally, right?
Yeah.
Even myself, business owner wise, I have, a list of clients that I got to manage that I have to attend to. It can get stressful. There's some nights where I'm just like, man, dude, like this is crazy. There's some nights where I just feel a little bit down and you need that extra energy. So, man, I guess really talk about the importance of sharpening that character acts for somebody that is a business owner, for somebody that is an entrepreneur, or somebody that's a student. What's the importance of actually, sharpening your character, whether it's on an every week basis or maybe how often should they sharpen it,
Yep. So I'll just go off a point that you were
Yeah,
sharing,
man.
and I'll just start off by saying this. So, when people talk about success, they think about it in the money and the houses, stuff like that. Those things only amplify who you already are. And so if you are a late person somewhere and you had $100, if you don't change and you get $100 million, you're going to be super late because you feel like I got paper. So why should I be on time? Because you haven't changed the root of it. But I think it's a daily thing that you have to do. And I know for me, me working on my character, one thing me and my wife do every single day is we do devotional. We have worship time. We pray. You know what I'm saying? And I'm constantly listening to, people who are sound in character, who are giving me advice and stuff like that. I'm listening to different sermons. I'm listening to podcasts that are empowering me, in terms of my character, because I know that I can't sustain in what I do unless I'm able to sustain in myself. And so I'm constantly listening to certain things and certain people, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through a podcast, iTunes, listen to you, you know what I'm saying? Because with you guys, and the reason why I'm grateful that, we're such great friends, because any person, if I'm gonna deal with you closely, like your character, it has to be right. It has to, because if I'm dealing with you, how you are, it's going to affect me too, and so I'm always connecting with people, secondly, who have great character too. So I think it's something that you have to work on it daily, and like I said, and how, in terms of doing it, I think that's up to you, in terms of how you do it. But I know just for me, that's how I do it. I read constantly. I'm listening to messages constantly. We're praying constantly, because I want to work on me, because when I do get to a level, and I will never ever compare myself to ET. Never.
Mm-hmm.
I will never do it. But if I do get to a point to where I do have a massive following and people, I have this big empire, I want to make sure that I'm the right person to be able to sustain that. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at, and that's why I don't even like Jello no more, because of the stuff that he went through, the stuff that he did. you got to realize this man, Bill Cosby, has won honorary doctorates. He's been responsible for sending kids to college. You know what I'm saying? And because he did one thing 30 years ago, it impacted his whole legacy. And now when we talk about basketball, one of my favorite players is LeBron James. And not just because of how he plays. Because it's a whole thing with him, his move to LA and all that. We can go into that. But I think for me, it's how he is off the court. If you're the same person on the court or off the court as you are on the court, then you got me. Outside of him playing basketball, he's a phenomenal husband. He's a phenomenal father. He's involved in it with his family. He's constantly giving back into the community, constantly giving back into his hometown. He's from Ohio, O-H, yup. So he's constantly to those impoverished communities. You know what I'm saying? And so he's really the epitome of someone who really started from the bottom and got to the top and is literally pulling people up from the bottom up to where he is. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to John Maxwell. You know, John Maxwell is one of my favorite people. And he said he challenged this whole notion of people saying it's lonely at the top. And one of the things he said was follow a hiker. And so a lot of people, they're trying to get to the top, but they're not trying to figure out how can they help people in the midst of it. And I think character has a whole lot to do with that. This is why I took this position with the juveniles. It wasn't even to get paid. It wasn't even to do it. I wanted to literally work on my mind and say, hey, because at one point, I'm just going to be honest with you, Nate. Right, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to mess up myself, getting arrogant. But what I wanted to do is get down here and help them. And so that's why I took this position with the juveniles, work with the juveniles, because of course working with them, but at the same time I want to work on me too. I always want to remain humble at the end of the day, because if I can remain humble, I will always be successful. If I can remain, sound and still, I will always be successful. You know what I mean? And so I don't get caught up in stuff that people have no more. Like I remember there was a point in time when that was a thing, but I don't get caught up in that no more, because I realize it's not my life. It's not, that's not my life. This is my life here. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to try to compare myself to other people to try to look like them. But this is Kenny. I'm Kenny Graham. You feel what I'm saying? And the way that I deliver my message and I deliver to people, it is uniquely me. I don't try to be like E.T. I don't try to be like a Ike Johnson. Like, no, that's them. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why E.T. can sustain so long the way he's doing it is because he said it. He's been doing it for over 20 years. Yeah. But he started in 99, in the 90s. You feel me? But it was all about, for him, he said it was all about working on him. And I want to be on the same path as far as working on myself, man. So it's really, really, really important out there. We cannot make the mistake of getting on a platform and thinking that platform is going to change us. That platform does not change us. I was talking to my cousin one day, and I told him the platform does not change you. It only exposes you. That's it. All it does is exposes who you already are. And so if you are arrogant before the platform, if you don't change, you get that platform, you're going to be even more arrogant. I don't know if you know who Bobby Brown is. Me and my wife just watched the New Edition story. And oh boy. Bobby Brown was an arrogant dude. But that was who he was already. You feel what I'm saying? So who you are already, that will already be revealed until you make change. So unless you change your character, then your life won't change.
Mm. Straight up. It all comes back to character and what it is that you do, like your habits every single day. And again, it all comes back to like what people, like if somebody's perception of you impacts your life, your character is weak.
Yep.
It needs strength, and you need to devote time to, like you were saying, like listening to podcasts. Maybe it's going to actual networking events. That's a good thing to do as well, surrounding yourself around like-minded people. I mean, I just got off a call before this podcast, and you know, we have a mastermind group every single Wednesday that we literally just chat it up, what's working for us, you know, what we need help with, and just updating throughout the week. And it's like, somebody that might be listening, well, what's the point of that? Like, why do I need that? It's because you need empowered. It doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, somebody like E.T., I mean, he has a close relationship with Bob Proctor, you know, like he's one of the major influences that influenced him to sort of start Breathe University, believe it or not. And it's just incredible because it doesn't matter where you're at on the journey, right? We all have a separate journey, and you always need that, like you were saying earlier, that support group.
Yeah.
And when you have that support group and they actually support you, because there's a lot of people, I support you, man. But it's like when you ask them for something, hey, man, you think you could like leave a review on my podcast? They'll never leave a review on your podcast.
Never,
you know,
never.
Oh man, something came up. Hey, I need something. I need help moving tomorrow. Can you help me? Yeah, man. I actually had something come up. They'll either text you last minute or they'll say, nope, man, I'm sorry, I'm busy. You know, and it's like you really got to monitor that circle of influence. And man, I totally agree, for real.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's a number of things that contribute to your character, man. Values, you know what I'm saying? How you feel about a situation, how you feel about people. For me, and listen, my thing is I always want to be truthful. That's just part of my character. I don't ever want to lie because that's just part of my character. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like I said, it's all about who you are. And so, of course, there are a number of things that can contribute. We can go all day about those things. But yeah, man. I think right now, especially in the times that we're living in where, man, I won't go into it, but where we're seeing some people in power just doing totally different than what the position calls for. You know, and I think, oftentimes people want the position and they don't focus on, am I ready for that position? Am I ready to be on that platform? You know what I'm saying? You talking about you want 500,000 people to follow you. You talking about you want people to, buy your stuff. You want people to, you want a booming business. Are you the type of person that's ready for a booming business? Because we're entrepreneurs and we know how much stress that can take on, being an entrepreneur. And so you have to be the right person, man, before you can do the right things and, be at the right place at the right time for the right opportunity. You have to be the right person first, man.
You got to be prepared before it comes and hits you. I tell people that all the time. Even today, I had a lot of conversations about that. Like, you want to be a musician, you want to be a big time music artist, right? But your brand is portraying an artist that isn't consistent, that doesn't know the type of content like that they should be putting. They're not posting enough content, and they're just branding themselves like you're treating this like a hobby. Wait, what are your goals again? I want to be a music artist. Okay, go look at Shawn Mendes. Go look at Ed Sheeran. Go look at some of the guys that are already doing it. Go look at how can I forget their name? Hillsong. Yeah, go look at Hillsong, right? Look at these people. Look at these groups that are already doing it. Look at these speakers that are doing it. Don't copy them, right?
Right.
But do what works best for you, because there's only one person that knows what works best for you, and that's the person looking right directly in the mirror, So, no, I mean, that's definitely something. Yeah, I'm a big advocate on that, for real, brother, for real.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like I think sometimes this is a touchy subject too, because some people they could think that you're judging me or you're trying to say this about me, you're not loving me. That I love you enough to tell you that you're wrong. I love you enough to tell you that you need to get this straight. Like that, I think that's real love. And I think oftentimes people say that they use that as a crutch for them to continue to do what they've been doing. And they don't really want to change. You know what I'm saying? And I know that change is not change until you change. And so you want things to change. You have to change. Like sometimes love don't come in the form of, I love you. Sometimes love come in the form like, bruh, straighten yourself out. You're not you're not made for that. You don't need to be with that person. Sometimes love is tough.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't want that tough love. And so as me and Nate are sharing this, we're talking about character because we want y'all out there to feel the tough love, because developing your character is tough. And so guess what? We got to meet you by sharing things that are going to be tough too, so that you can change. You know what I'm saying? So I just had to add that in there, man, because I know there are going to be some people who will listen and they're going to say, oh, person, they probably judging me. But no, that's not it. I love y'all. And I love you enough to, you know what I'm saying, to tell you. And I a wife right in there in the living room, she can tell you. Like, that is my number one accountability partner right there. And there were times where I've done something, I've said something, and she's like, you wrong. And she left me there to think about it. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
But I needed that, because for me it was like, yo, you got to change the situation. You have to make some adjustments.
Right.
Of thing. I want to love you enough to tell you where you need to go and what you need to do so that you can get there.
No, absolutely, bro. That's deep, man. I'm telling you, for the listeners, the viewers, if you ain't taking notes, man, my dude Kenny, the content that you're dropping is incredible, man. Like, for real. And man, tell us more about. Do you have any any gigs coming up? What's going on in Kenny Graham's life? And man, tell the people where they can find you on social, because I know, man, just off this message, I mean, if I was listening, I would for sure be reaching out to you in an instant after I listen to this, for real. Just the value that you're dropping, brother. So tell the people where they can find you and everything.
Hey, I'm honored that it came from you. I just gotta say that. But stuff that's going on in my life, of course, I had the opportunity to be invited back to my alma mater university at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. So I'll be going back to Ohio in August to speak to the grad school program. Yep. Also some other things that are going on. I'm in the process of launching our new program called Jumpstart Your Podcast. So for those of you who don't know, I also have a podcast as well. Been doing podcasts for like 3 or 4 years. And so I really want to help people in terms of creating their own podcast and launching their own podcast, because I believe people have a message and sometimes they don't have an avenue to actually share that message. And so that's why we created the Jumpstart Your Podcast program. As far as following me, you can follow me on Facebook at KG Empowers or KG Empowers 1. You can follow me on Instagram at KG Empowers, Twitter, KG Empowers. Also on LinkedIn at Kenneth Graham. I'm really heavy into LinkedIn now. Shout out to Rob YB to help me on the LinkedIn account. But those are the places you can follow me, man. All my social media, you can follow me on KG Empowers.
Man, you got MySpace too?
That was 8 years ago.
No, I feel you, man. It's funny. Every time I'm on social media, Kenny, I always see your posts, and I'm just like, man, my dude's on every platform, and it's so smart to do that because you're utilizing every platform. So,
but you know what? I gotta thank you because for those you don't know, Nate is the CEO of Symbol Marketing, and they are the people who actually partner with us in helping to develop our social media brand. So it was your input. You know what I'm saying? Let me know that, hey, maybe you should put some tags on here. Maybe you should put your city on there, where you at. Like those things and stuff like that has really been giving me some engagement. And of course, one of the things that I do that I see a lot of people don't do, and I know you do it too, but not a lot of people do this, is that when people comment, they don't comment back. Like, I don't get that. You feel I don't understand that. People are commenting because they see they are getting value from what you're saying or doing. And so you're doing yourself and your brand a disservice by not commenting back, by not engaging. And so if anybody out there who has a brand and y'all want to up your social media game and get gigs through your social media, man, Nate the Great, that's your man right there. Connect with him.
Man, Kenny, I really appreciate that, brother. No, it's definitely been a blessing just being able to work, of course, with you and your company and brand, of course, and just really taking that to new levels, man. I mean, we live in a very social media, frenzy world where there's a lot of noise going on, and there's a lot of speakers out there that
Yeah.
they label themselves as speakers, but they're not really doing it, compared to
Right.
somebody like you. And it's definitely a very big honor, and again, a very big blessing just to be working and associating, the Sima Marketing brand
Yeah.
and company with you, brother. So definitely likewise, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
I got you,
Appreciate it.
man. Yeah, I'll put the links in the description below for the people and the listeners and the viewers. Man, you got a book out too, right? Man, tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. It's called Go Get Your Life. I know the subtitle is called Taking Charge, Walking in Your Prescribed Destiny, but that's too much. Just put in Go Get Your Life
Yeah.
on Amazon. And pretty much what it is about, man, is it's about getting people from getting stuck. In other words, so what I mean by that is, a lot of people say they want to do this and they want to do that, but somewhere in there they're stuck, and they may be stuck by their own limitation. They might be stuck by circumstances or whatever. But I share my story, and I share key tools in there to allow readers to know that no matter what your circumstance is, you can live the life that you know that you were supposed to live. And I wrote it because I'm living proof of that. You're living proof of that. You know what I'm saying? So we can speak on that, but that's pretty much what the book is about. Is basically what it says: go get your life. And actually, the inspiration of the title came from, my wife is from Cleveland.
Right.
And one thing that they say is go get your life, but it's always used in a funny or comical context. But I kept thinking about that. I'm like, man, a lot of people need to go get their life, man, for real. It's a lot of people out here stuck. They got these things that they want to do, and they just don't know where to go next. You feel me? So a lot of people need to get their life. People who are just thinking about what other people are saying, you know what I'm saying, worry about other people's opinions. Like, you need to go get your life. This is your life, and you can only live your life. You can't live anybody else's life. And so that's what the book is about, man. So if y'all want to get that, just go to Amazon.com. We're actually self-published through CreateSpace, but Amazon is definitely the easier place to go get it.
Heck yeah. And I'll put the link below as well for you guys that are wanting to get his book.
Yep.
Man, Kenny, you got a website too?
Yeah. Actually, it's through Wix. So it's Kenny Graham, Jr. Wixsite.com. So I'm actually getting ready to work with a company with a lady. It's called Pinch Design. She's the CEO of Pinch Design. Her name is Sade Scott. And actually, Marshall Fox, who's part of BU, referred her to me. So she's about to be redesigning my website. But it's Kenny Graham Jr. at Wixsite.com. Like I said, I can send that to you, Nate. I think you had it already. Yeah. So just go on that site, man. You can see everything that we got going. And of course, it'll detail information on the Jumpstart Your Podcast program that will be starting this fall. So, yep, that's what it is, man.
Heck yeah, man. And again, guys, go follow Kenny. He, as you guys know, with the message that he's dropped today, absolutely inspiring, motivating. And Kenny, at the end of every single podcast, I always have the guests sort of end it on an execution note, right?
Yep.
Not just a tip, but a note that they can actually go out and execute on. Like, right, we talked a lot about character today. So whether you want to relate it along the lines of character or maybe a whole different other spectrum that you want to come from, but what's that thing that you would tell the audience today and the listeners to go out and do and actually apply in their life to actually, make a change?
Yep. I would say this. I will start by saying this. You are your greatest project. It's not a paper. It's not a book. Anything. You are your greatest project. And so I would just say work on you. Work on you. I don't want to really say a technical or a how-to, because, again, that's dependent on the person. But I would just say work on yourself. Work on developing you before you go after that opportunity, before you get that engagement, before you get that business contract. Ask yourself, am I ready for what comes with it? Am I ready for the person I need to be? So when I get that contract, I can not only obtain it, but I can sustain in that contract. So the word is to work on you.
You heard it from the man, Kenneth Graham. Kenny, I appreciate you as always, brother.
Oh man, definitely appreciate you, man.
Hey, talk soon, brother.
All right.